Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
All right, check one, check two. This is it. Welcome to the Cannabis Coffee Hour with your host, me, Rob Cantrell. Oh man, I'm excited. I'm enthused. I got an awesome guest, the man of the hour, the tower of the power. We're looking over this beautiful lake in Prospect Park. Turtles, swans, we got joints, we got a little bit of herb, but I'm with the man, the myth, the legend, High Times writer. He's now working with Northeast Magazine. I've done cannabis cups. This guy has taught me so much, but beyond cannabis, he's one of the more fascinating dudes. He knows skateboarding, he knows graffiti, he knows hip hop. He's interviewed all these cats because he worked at High Times as a reporter, as a journalist for over 10 years. Please give it up for Danny Danko.
Hey Rob, thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure.
Dude, thank you for being on the show, Danny. How are you doing, my man?
I'm good. You know, as you mentioned, I'm doing Northeast Leaf Magazine, and I got a podcast of my own called Grow Bud Yourself, and
Yes.
that's what's been keeping me busy lately.
Yeah, we've all been pivoting and working, and as Danny fires a nice spliff up. We've all been pivoting and working, and then you moved over to Northeast Leaf because, I mean, High Times is great, but it's so old, and the cannabis movement is getting so big and wide, and there's a whole other new scene that's happening here in New York City, as well as Boston. Massachusetts is like wide open is what everybody's telling me. And then I saw the artwork for Northeast Magazine. That's the one thing that's been sticking out, is like, you guys got cool art. It feels a lot more current than some of the other publications of the past. Are you enjoying working with these guys and working with the magazine?
Yeah, 100%. It's been really a pleasure. As you mentioned, like, the art is really on point. It's focused on the Northeast region, so from Maine down to New York and New Jersey, and like Massachusetts, and all the laws are changing. Vermont and Maine, and now New York and New Jersey. So
there's deep hippies up in those hills.
Oh yeah, and things are just changing so fast with the legality of the situation, and I love the fact that the magazine is free as well, because we can experiment, we can have different things on the cover. We don't have to sell it. We just have to give it away. So we can really be experimental, and I think that really unleashed some of my creativity and energy towards that, and I'm just super psyched. I mean, High Times, they moved to Cali a couple of years ago, and they got sold to a different company, and so they're going in a different direction, and that's the direction they're going in.
It's a part of life.
Yeah. And I had a great run there.
You had an
amazing
awesome run.
15 years, and then not so great last couple of years, but really learned a lot and traveled the world, and really had an exciting, amazing time with them. So yeah, man, it's great.
You spread love, Danny. You spread love at High Times. I will say there was a lot of classy people out over there. Shout out Rick Cusack, shout out Steve Bloom, shout out some of these cats that I know that I will have on the podcast. But yeah, you looked out for artists. I know you worked with reggae artists, like you worked with graffiti writers, and you celebrated the grower as well as the urban grower. One of Danny's awesome articles was Growing in the Bronx, and it was about these grow houses that he would visit. And people don't understand, in the 90s, this shit was it wasn't cocaine, but it was scary. You could get popped and you could do real fucking time. So, hats have to be tipped to some of these forefathers, and you're one of them, Daddy. And you did it the right way. You didn't ego out, and you helped people, and you helped comics like me. You got me in the magazine, got me on, I got my name on the cover. I went to a few cups, I hosted, I did gigs. You guys always, and the people laugh, like, people will be like, yo, I went up to High Times. Rob is always there. I heard from other people, not even people that worked at High Times. So I would always come up and mooch weed off of you guys. And you guys never gave me shit. You always were down to support artists. And yeah, man, just kudos. I'm glad what you're doing.
Appreciate it, man. It's really, for me, it's a culture the people who enjoy cannabis and really appreciate it and are the connoisseurs. To me, that runs the gamut, as you mentioned, through skateboarding and graffiti and comedy and all these different circles. And I think, it's a thing that binds together these different cultures, but also is its own culture as well. And I think, you do a great job of exemplifying that with the coffee and weed and
Oh, thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
And the marijuana log stepped me in, but I always was down for herb. But you're right. It did, walking over here, in the beginning, I was like, oh, cannabis culture, even comedy culture, but as you get older, you understand that community is important. And, and there's going to be times when the chips are down and you got to turn to a friend. And I will say the cannabis community is one of the nicest, coolest. They might not be on time, but I know we're getting beyond that stigma, and all that stuff is moving into a whole different direction as people understand the health benefits with cannabis and the nature. We're here in nature. Danny, tell me about the plants. One thing you were telling me was back in the day about growing herb is the more root, the more fruit was one of your key terms. Am I right by saying that?
Yeah, I mean, that has to do with container size on a basic level. The bigger the container, the bigger the plant will be. But really, it's about, nurturing the roots of the plant. And it could be a metaphor for a lot of other things because it's what's below the surface that is represented by the plant above ground, and if the roots are rotten, the plant cannot survive, and if the roots are thriving, the plant will thrive. So to me, the more root, the more fruit, and so you're feeding the roots and you're nurturing them, and you want to have them be happy underneath the surface, and then everything above ground will be copacetic.
I love that, dude. You're so right. With the more I've been meditating, a lot of this thing is I've been meditating, I've been stretching, I've been getting more realigned, but the more I'm trying to work with nature and go the path of nature, because there is a way, there is, the seed comes from so small and then it grows to a mighty, mighty tree, but it didn't know it was that tree, it was that path. And if you follow the path, you could become a mighty, mighty tree. And that's what I see you, Danny. I see you as a mighty, mighty, tall, 25-foot cannabis tree over there with deep, deep roots. Because the roots go deep with you, because you started with High Times in the 90s.
Yeah, part-time, 98, 99. I started with, playing softball and answering the phone and breaking down boxes and things like that. And I tell
that's
people,
how you do it, kids.
Right.
Keep going.
I tell people that all the time. I mean, get your foot in the door, and you will learn what it takes. Make another person's job.
Start at the bottom.
Right. Start at the bottom and learn what it takes. Make another person's job easier. If you make the people who hired you, if you make their job easier, then they'll keep you around.
That's a jewel, everybody.
If you make it harder, they won't. So, find your lane and just stay in that lane and do the things you need to do to keep your roots healthy, and remember that it's a long game too. You know what I mean? There's no quick come up. You gotta pay dues, work hard, and I never had a plan to be an editor or writer, really. I just wanted to be a part of it, and that's how it revealed itself to me. I knew how to grow, and I knew how to write, and I had mentors over there like Cushman and Cusick and Bean and Stock and Bloom, and I had people that were there to guide me and say, hey man, you know how to grow, you know how to write about growing.
That was your thing, is that Danny would just, he would do a little bit of celebrity thing, but Danny and I are about the same age, so our cultural reference points always are on point. But his main thing was dealing with the growers and celebrating the growers, and who aren't the biggest celebrities. Some of these dudes are just in back alleys or in some weird town in the back, Humboldt. That's not a weird little town, but you guys know what I mean. A little bit country. It's not Hollywood. And Danny would treat these people like Hollywood, in essence, because, just trying to give them, give them their roses, as they say out there. The kids are saying. Have you heard that one?
Of course, man.
Oh, yeah.
Nori.
Daddy's always hip on the new shit. Even though he's 40-something, whatever, he knows like the newest A$AP Rocky fucking verse that's hot right now.
You know, I try to keep up with what's going on. And,
What's better, A$AP Rocky or Ferg? Who's
That's
better?
a tough one. That's a tough one.
Oh, Ferg is better, man. Everybody knows Ferg is, but I think that's from an old head like me. You know, Ferg appeals. I think his flow. Not to switch it up so fast on you, Danny, but I know you like music, and I wanted to get into it. I only got you like 45 minutes, but yeah, A$AP Ferg, like he has more of a boom bap style, I guess is what I was gonna say.
Yeah, man, for sure. You know, I'm feeling a lot of stuff that's going on these days.
Tell me about music.
Well, Run the Jewels, I love, you know, what they've been up to, although
Yeah.
they're not like young kids.
No, but I talked to my buddy Rondell about this. It's like anybody from the boom bap age, like Run the Jewels is doing it right. Like that is just like top notch hip hop done very, very well.
For sure. You know, when people tell me like, oh, hip hop is not the same as it used to be and this and that, that's kind of what I'll play them just to remind them that there's still stuff out there. And, you know, everything changes and everything evolves.
Griselli has kind of a boom bap style, and he's kind of the top of the charts right now. Those kids from Buffalo. You know who I'm talking about?
Griselda.
Yeah, Griselda.
Yeah,
like those guys are murdering it right now. But I was watching an interview I'm a fan of Smoke DZA. I did a High Times show with him, but he had one of those dudes from that camp, that Buffalo clique rap crew, and they were saying, their sound appeals to the new and the old, which is kind of dope.
Yeah, for sure, Conway and them. And like, you know, like you mentioned with the cannabis growers too, it's like these guys weren't, you know, they're from the underground. They were not trying to become stars at that time, so you really had to dig deep to find where they were, and you had to build trust and relationships and friendships with people that, you know, it wasn't just a quick hit up, you know, and that's how I was able to get in those grow houses in the Bronx, is the trust level that people had, and then going to Humboldt and you know, all over the world basically, Vancouver Island and Spain and Amsterdam with you over there for the Cannabis
Thank
Cups.
you for bringing it back to the growers. You're right. I had a little bit of a spliff and I just got inspired for a second. But you're right, Danny. Thanks for bringing it. You're right. And yeah, you got to travel and you had to build friendships. You know, the thing about, I did sales for a while, and it is not the best job if you don't like what you're selling. But the whole thing with business and life is not even business, it's just relationships, you know?
Yep.
And if people know, and I say this on the show, I try not to fake the funk, you know? I just try, if people know you're not faking the funk and you're being, even if, you know, they don't like you or maybe you're not even lining up to what they're doing, but at least, yeah, if somebody knows you for real, they're going to help you out, you know? And it's like, I know you for real, and so I got this interview a few days ago, and for you to do this. But that's because you've known me for 10, 15 years, you know, and I feel next time I'll give you way much more notice.
No worries, man.
But you live close to me, and it's in the park. I know we're out here being COVID safe. We're on 2 different mics. We have 2 different weed sources, and we're just watching turtles and chilling, talking about the growers. Who do you think is growing? I mean, it's hard to say these days, right? Is Humboldt still king when it comes to growing?
Well, I mean, there's people growing great cannabis all over the world.
All over the world.
And, you know, the internet has allowed for that, and people shipping clones. And
people have been doing it in Southeast Asia for centuries,
sure.
You know? And
yeah,
India,
hash
has been there forever, thousands and thousands of years, and I think it's all opening up really cool.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I think things are changing over there as well. We see with Afghanistan, I mean, that's a hash-producing culture for thousands of years, and Morocco, and all North Africa and Asia. But, yeah, I mean, like you said, people have been growing, and I mean, the best growers can be right next door these days. You know, you can have and the best growers are, you know, small batch growers, too. I mean,
it is.
If there's one thing
just
I've learned,
like beer.
You know, it's like the bigger you go, the harder it is to have quality. So these big, you know, 100,000 square foot warehouses are not really producing the quality that you can do as a home grower in a 4x4 tent, you know. And so that's kind of what I preach. That's what my book is about. It's for beginner growers. The magazine Northeast Leaf is really, it's
And what's the title of your book again?
It's called Cannabis, A Beginner's Guide to Growing Marijuana.
And you're right.
It's really just about, not just the fact that you can do it cheaply and get a better product, but it's also fun. Like, it's a fun hobby, It's like,
man.
Since when does, like, a fish tank, get you high?
Yeah.
It's like having a fish tank that gets you high. It's dope.
Dude, it's very dope. I wanted to bookend that and say, like, the small grower, it comes down to me, like, I've been doing plants. I just did my windowsill. I put some dope ass flowers, and I got this, like, one of those metal joints, like the windowsill metal, like, holds like 3 or 4 like house plants. But I've been putting a lot of love because of the quarantine, and I get those things going, Yeah, I get them. They're rocking and loving, and that's the thing about cannabis. Like, if you got a small plant, if you give it a lot of love, play it some Jerry Garcia band now and then, talk to it, listen to some jazz, give it the light, give it the water, give it the nutrients.
Yep, 100%. I mean, that's really what it's all about, and I love that things are becoming more legal. I think it's amazing. I think nobody belongs in jail for these non-violent cannabis offense, and
it couldn't be more well timed with the quarantine and all this stuff. Like, under
right.
the stress right now, like, I used to not smoke that hard, but lately I've been turning towards cannabis. Like, I haven't smoked in the last 3 or 4 days, which is, I've been reading books like I was Lawnmower Man. But at the same time, I'm under a lot of stress with the world in Afghanistan and the COVID stuff and just living life, and I've learned that I do have anxiety and stuff like that, and like, cannabis is just a natural way of chilling that shit out,
Yeah, I mean, the medical aspects of cannabis, we're just scratching the surface these days. And what I was saying is also, like, I love that it's becoming more legal, but I do think that, we don't have to settle for, mids or medium quality. If you're the type like me that wants, the higher quality.
If you're a connoisseur.
It should be out there. And, like, whether you go to the farmer's market and buy a jar from your local, mom and pop or whatever it might be, I think that option should be out there for everybody, as well as the dispensary option or growing their own. Because I know, not everybody's going to decide to grow their own weed, but maybe they can form a collective where one person grows weed, one person's got, some beehives, another person's got this and that, and you just share, the bounty, because you can find all of that right here in the city, and you don't have to be in the country to produce enough.
And you're saving $50 every 2 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah. Not for nothing. It's a higher quality product for a cheaper price at the end of the day, and
you can enjoy it and share with friends. I know Doug Benson's always like, he's not super into all the political stuff. He's just like, pot is fun at the end of the day.
100%.
And I always thought that there was a high quality in that saying and that outlook. I looked at it more as an environmental, but you can look at it from all these different angles. But the one angle is it's fun and fun to share with friends.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why my first podcast, I called it Free Weed, because to me, it really should be practically free. It shouldn't be, $50 or $60 an eighth. That just seems to me like,
for the common man, that's kind of hard, man.
Yeah. That's not what it should cost. That's not what it costs to produce. And the reason that it's cost that much in the past is because of risk. It's all the risk taking. But if the risk is gone, then that price needs to drop. And I do think that growing is the way to do it. And the more you grow, the cheaper it gets. And that was the concept of free weed, and I think ultimately a lot of people have been turned on.
Is that a bald eagle, bro?
It's definitely an eagle. I don't know if it's bald.
No, I think that's a crane.
Maybe a crane. Okay.
They have big fat crane. Not to cut you off, I'm sorry, bro, but we're looking over this.
Here is incredible.
Yeah, I ran over here to meet Danny last minute in Prospect Park, and when you move fast, you don't really soak it in, but I hit a little bit of herb, and now it's really soaking in that we're on this dope-ass lake, and Danny was describing this great movement that's happening and the great ways to, save money with herb, and this big crane just came cruising over the side of the lake, and we're under this shady tree. It's just, man, thank you for coming through, brother.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And, yeah, it's... the legalization is getting good in New York, man. I see people. I'm not afraid right now, and I got popped and ended up doing 3 nights in the Tombs in New York in 2007. But but I think you also need to be respectful and cool about it, and I think we are. We're off in the middle. We're hiding behind. We're not hiding. We're just chilling behind a tree, listening to these cicadas over here. I'm sure people are picking it up.
Yeah, smoking in nature is a good thing. There goes another duck.
Yeah, as Danny gets a good copper off his spliff. He's got a nice spliff, which spliff is always the most natural way. I had a little bit of a one-hitter.
Some people say spliff when they mean, like there's tobacco in the joint.
I mean the Jamaican way.
Yeah.
I mean in the Rasta way. In Jamaica, spliff doesn't mean tobacco. Yeah, I'm not. You know me. I don't mess with tobacco.
Yeah, me neither. That's that's something that I'm not fond of. The whole blunts and putting
tobacco in your herb. It's such a bummer when somebody passes me a joint and they put tobacco in it. I'm just like, dude. And then they call you out on it for being a wuss or whatever. And you're like, no, I'm just fucking old. I don't need it, And I smoked cigarettes and dipped tobacco as an early kid.
Kills.
Yeah,
I mean,
it made me. It's
thousands
toxic.
Of people die from that every year.
It's one of the more toxic.
Cannabis is a medicine.
The
differences are stark, and so mixing them is, in my opinion, it's just not. It's not a good.
But I don't want to be on the judge vibe. Like, I'm always trying to remove these judgments. And, some people smoke cigarettes. My mom smokes cigarettes for you. I got a brother-in-law that smokes, and they can't, it's just like, everybody's got to have a vice. I always say, people got to have one or two vices.
And a simple way to look at it,
yeah.
For people who don't understand the whole weed legalization situation or whatever is, if cigarettes were suddenly to be made illegal, the way that cannabis was for 75 or 80
As
years,
it should,
or the way that alcohol
not
was.
Should.
No, not that it should. I'm
no,
saying
it should. You're right.
What they did with alcohol, when they did the prohibition thing in the teens and 20s, it that lasted for 13 years, and then they realized it was a mistake.
Yeah.
If you did that with cannabis for 80 years, and then you realize it's a mistake. And the perfect example is if you did that with cigarettes. If you outlawed cigarettes tomorrow, the gangs would be selling and buying cigarettes.
Yeah, they would be.
And it would become a whole income for the underground.
Yeah, man. I just drove through North Carolina. I was tempted to buy some carton of cigarettes and run them up here.
Killing each other over cartons of cigarettes. And
they almost already do now.
It's a simple way to look at it. It's just. No matter what it is, if there's something people want, they're gonna get it. And supply and demand is not, a theory. It's a fact. And
people hate being told what to do. That's what I've learned, Danny. Is like people hate being told what to do. And even the more evil shit that's out there that I think about. And I'm pro cannabis, pro coffee. I don't even fuck with alcohol. I don't even fuck with cigarettes. Maybe I want to experiment more with mushrooms going forward, but in a safe and natural environment. But, I do know repression and just like holding people back just makes them want to do it even more, and they'll come up with shady ways, and that's how you get dirty markets and all that stuff,
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's nothing that a person can do to their own body that shouldn't be legal, basically, as long as they're not harming anyone else in doing that. And so, yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. They should legalize all drugs, and they should have safe places for people to use them if they're going to use them. And a lot of that takes the romance away. Like you said, that people go through all these shady things, but half the fun for them sometimes is to cop and like the whole culture of the underground. And when you take that out of it, you end up with a situation like in Holland where young Dutch people don't think weed is cool at all, because that's like what like the tourists do, and like older people, and like they're not into that. Like
they're already into snorting ketamine.
Well, whatever they're into. But like they made weed uncool over there, basically.
Totally.
By just basically making it legal and making these places where you can do it.
But I think it's hella cool over there, man.
I love
coffee,
it. I love the coffee
and I
shop
love
scene.
herb, and I don't like noisy drunks. I don't like ego at this stage in
It's
life.
the one thing we're lacking here is social use. We've got a few clubs here and there, and there's places but just a legal place. You don't have to worry about it, and just go and smoke with
government,
like-minded friends. You know, we've got
Totally.
our spots, but the social use is an important part of cannabis. It's not something people, you know, it hits different when you're in a group setting, and maybe, you know, the social use has changed because of COVID, and, you know, I'm smoking my joint and you got your oney, and that's the way it's going to be. We're not going to be passing it around, but we can still gather, you know, together. And,
outside,
you know,
I think it's cool. That's my opinion.
Yeah, for now, you know,
my life is I'm rocking the mask when I go inside.
Sure.
I'm steering away from super crowds, but I'm not stressed if I do, and if I do, I'll rock a mask for a minute, you know.
Sure. I mean, we're in Brooklyn too. It's
highly vaccinated. That's the one thing we got going on that's up here. It's like, it's highly vaccinated. But, you know, it's tricky right now. But I was gonna say was like, yeah, taking it, making them all legal. Yeah, I kind of go back and forth with that. Coke is so sketch, you know, and heroin has taken out some of the best artists and friends.
Yeah, but
and
you know,
even
like,
the dudes
if it
that
was
kick
legal,
it.
it's different. I
I
mean,
know.
That's the different
But
thing.
you're going to go through about 10 years of some serious
It's hard,
pain.
you know, it's harder for
It's like
people,
pulling
I think,
off this
to overdose
Band-Aid.
in a legal environment. I think when there's like clean needle exchanges, and when there's like in areas where people can go to inject themselves and stuff.
And I think
makes more sense
education
than
and mental health
throwing them
would
in
help.
jail. I mean, obviously, you know, prohibition isn't working. So
Yeah.
we should try something different for pretty much everything that's out
Our
there.
prison system could show us that, you know, it's definitely not working. It's overriding the whole system with nonviolent criminals.
But things
just
are
because
changing. Cannabis is coming to save the day.
I think cannabis is there to save the day, you know. But I'm me, you know, and it works for me. And some people I know it doesn't work for, or probably
it's
not
not for everyone.
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
not for everyone.
Neither, like you said, is alcohol or any of those other things.
But some
then
people-
there's fully functional people using every
alcohol,
one of those
and
things.
that's how they take the edge
or
off,
all
you know.
those things, like, you know,
Life is so hard.
We're grown ass people, though.
Yeah.
You know? We're not children that need to be told how to behave. So I do think that, like, even with something like steroids in sports, we talk about this on my podcast. We have a sports on drugs segment, and I'm not pro steroids, but I don't think that we should be like piss testing grown people and checking them for what they put into their bodies. If
I go back and forth on that one.
Yeah,
Just
see?
because I did do athlete, and it does kind of take the innocence out of competition.
Listen, there's no innocence in competition. Everyone is constantly cheating. There's always cheating since
It's a part of the game.
Every
You're
one of
right,
these sports
you're
has
right.
been invented. There's been ways of cheating in all of these different games, and they all do it, and we only find out about it when they get caught. But they're all constantly doing it, and there was drugs in sports. There
but
was
it's cool
greenies.
to win when you're doing good. It's cool to honestly win. It's like when I
It's just
perform
a
in front of a
game. You're
crowd.
just playing a game for
I know,
other
but
people's
sometimes you can
entertainment.
stack the cards, man, and
Okay,
sometimes you
there's
can
nothing
cheat.
wrong with that. Cheating
But
is
no,
part of the
when it
game.
comes to purity of essence and purity of good,
You'll never get that.
Oh, you will if something hits right. Sweet hit of a bat. Yeah, I'm talking about the moment, my man. I'm talking about when you knock that ball out of the park.
Yeah,
And that comes
or
from
no
you.
steroids, you know, all steroids do is help you recover from a workout. It's not like they make you more diesel.
And it's helped people with health
Look.
benefits. I'm not anti. I'm just, I kind of go back and forth on it. I just don't.
You think we should be taking the piss and blood of grown people and
They're
checking
getting paid
them
millions of
for-
dollars to perform in front of children.
Come on. It's a game.
But to keep the table even.
Maybe if
But I
they're
think
driving
cannabis
a-
should be legal for all athletes. But I don't know about antibiotic, like horse steroids, like everybody about to explode their heart out there, you know?
They want to do that to their bodies, and then makes them millions of dollars, and, you know, that's the difference between, you know, 60 home runs and 73 home runs or whatever. You know, it's corny for us, I think, to, like, police that. I just think, like, they're just grown people playing a game for our entertainment, and if, you know, they want to work out a little more and get bigger, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a hot take, but
Yeah, but it's a good take, and I'm not a medical expert, and I don't care that much about sports. So I understand you, and I'll let you win. Not even win the conversation. I think you got the point on the board.
I'm saying whether it's heroin,
I'm looking at a duck right
alcohol.
now. There's actually a real brown duck over there.
Oh yeah.
Just like with its beak and everything. But no, I think it's that classic SNL sketch, All Steroids Olympics. Like he pulls have you ever seen that? All Steroids Olympics, SNL. Yeah, rips his arm off. Yeah. Oh, dude, that's one of the best sketches of all time. I love that.
Oh yeah, exactly. Have two different leagues. One where everybody's clean, one where they're all on steroids.
Everyone's all natural.
I like the idea of wearing
the Ja Rastafari.
Wearing
league.
On your.
That's what I want to see. I want to see the Ja Rastafari league, like dudes that play soccer that smoke weed all day.
Well, my old colleague Craig Coffey said they should be allowed to do whatever they want, but they should wear it on their jersey, like everything that they're on, and then we could choose to cheer for them based on what their drugs they're taking or not taking. I think that's a compromise. That's a grown-up compromise, instead of like, here, pee in a cup,
Yeah, it's weird. I know. People don't like to be told what to do. It backs people into a corner. If it doesn't affect
other people, they shouldn't have to be. If it doesn't affect other people. But then
it goes into a bigger question of vaccines and everything for me. That's what I'm saying.
I got a hot take on that too, because the vaccine saved my life. I caught
COVID. That is true.
I caught COVID a month and a half ago.
I'm glad it was a month and a half ago. You said that to me. I took two steps back. I haven't caught the vid yet.
I'm fully vaxxed. Caught it. I do have some comorbidities, few extra pounds, atrial fibrillation of the heart. So I was scared, and the vaccine saved my life.
God
kept me out of the hospital. Never had any issues with breathing. Nothing. Didn't spread it to my wife and son, and so my hot take is it saved my life. So that's what I say about it. I'm not forcing anyone to take it, but I'm also
what I mean.
Not
people
trying to
freak
hang
out when you tell them.
I'm not trying to hang out with people that aren't vaccinated, though. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not trying to hang out with them.
I'm fully vaxxed, and I will take the booster in my dick right now. All right, just everybody know that for real.
Yeah.
But I'm not here to tell you what to do.
I'm just speaking from my own experience. To me, I'm convinced that it saved my life. So, to me, it's a no-brainer. Like, would this thing keep you out of the hospital and save your life? If that's what's the worst thing?
I'm so glad you're alive, dude.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, I'm just glad I didn't spread it to my family, because that's the scariest thing of it all. I isolated in my son's room, and my wife and kid took over the rest of the apartment, and and I just rode it out. Never had trouble breathing, never had, the symptoms that would have made me, worried and have to go to the hospital. But, I think cannabis helps too, but that's another hot take. So
I do too. I think it blocks it, dude. I don't know about all that. I don't know about all that. That is maybe me some wishful thinking.
I'm saying it made it easier for me to isolate. You know what I mean? So it's maybe it didn't do anything specifically to the virus, but it made it easier to go through the last year and a half.
Yeah, for sure. So. But I'm glad you're alive, and I'm glad you're here on the podcast, and I love it that we're out here in nature and we're talking about the environment, we're talking about big picture stuff, but I also wanted to talk about hip-hop because, Biz Markie passed, and then the verses. Like, I did a whole episode on the verses. I don't know if you saw the Cameron Locks verses.
I mean, I definitely checked some of that out. Definitely...
want to pay some respects to the Biz?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Biz was incredible artist.
Did you ever meet him? You met everybody.
I never met Biz Markie. No, I never met him. I definitely always wanted to meet him. He seemed like
Have you been to a gig? I've been to a gig where he was
I've seen him perform, I've definitely seen him perform and saw him perform.
Hip-hop or DJ?
I saw him rapping. I saw him singing with the Beastie Boys, singing
you
Elton
saw that?
John.
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden. I saw him a few times, but and DJing as well. He was definitely very entertaining as a DJ. Interesting guy, he
the best hip hop,
Juice
man.
Crew.
Yeah, the Juice Crew. He was just all about funny, and that's the part of the vibe I like on hip hop is the goofball vibe. and he encompassed that. And no matter how much of a hard rock you can talk, there's nobody funkier than Biz Markie, and some of his jams definitely would rock any park, and still will rock any park to this day. I was listening to the Biz Goes Off. Check that one out. That's a great one.
Yeah,
Biz Goes Off.
A lot of great songs, a lot of fun stuff, and like phrases people still use all the time too. You know, like you got the dragon. You know, like that one.
The dragon breath.
The dragon breath one.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
classic. You know, like
That's a
deeper cut, but like a great one.
Picking boogers.
Picking boogers, yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, picking boogers was the jam. We have a truck here that just pulled up. Tree, shrub, and lawn care.
Yeah, they're gonna take away those wood chips over here.
Yeah. But
Which,
this guy's definitely probably grown some weed.
Wood chips. Wood chips are good. You know, good mulch.
Mulch. I'm mulching. I'm doing, what is it? Composting right now.
Oh, nice.
And it's all organic material.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, we kind of wigged out and started putting eggs in there, and I was like, nah.
No, eggshells are great for composting. Composting
I know,
is a great
but we're
thing.
going straight brown. Like I'm doing only leaves. Like I have.
Well, you need some
it takes
carbon,
a month.
You know, you got the nitrogen and the carbon, and you need them both
Ooh,
in varying
talk
degrees.
to me, Dan.
Yeah, no, I'm a composting geek as well. I think compost tea is one of the best things you can feed to your houseplants or weed plants.
What's
And
compost tea?
you basically, after the compost is done doing its thing, like you got your browns. Sorry, here's a.
Yeah, speak up, Dan. Give a
got a
shout
chopper.
out. We got a helicopter, and we got a
chopper.
big dude. He's about to dump a big ton of mulch.
Oh yeah.
But it's a pretty dope ass ride.
Yeah, see, the problem with these wood chips that they do here in the city is that they do it all with the Christmas trees, and I think the pine, you know, it's very acidic.
Yes.
I worry about that because like you got to balance things out. Like anything in life, like compost needs a balance. You know, acidity
Speak on
and
that.
alkalinity, pH needs a balance. You
Life
can't
is balance.
You know, even I learned with cannabis plants. You know, you can't overfeed your plants.
Yeah.
You don't. It's not. You know, you just have to properly feed your plants. So everything is a yin and yang kind of balance thing. So even if you're gonna do other things in life or whatever, you got to balance them out somehow and find that
The
peaceful,
art of doing nothing
Yeah.
is the gig.
Yeah, stay out of
I've
the
been
plant's
getting-
way in some ways too. Like
Yeah.
I keep going back to cannabis growing, but that's because that's how the reason I'm even interested in house plants or composting or
Yeah.
carbon neutrality of any kind or anything like that is
Danny's a
because,
skate pirate from the 90s, graffiti writer. So, but now you have one of the greenest thumbs in the world that I know, and that it is because of the cannabis plants and all the writing you did with. But as I go older, and it does bring your heart rate down, is gardening. It's good for you. So I've been trying to incorporate, as well as meditation, as well as
gardening,
Zen
living
shit.
soil that's how the only way we're gonna save this planet anyways is to sequester a lot of carbon in the soil, and you do that by growing plants in the soil and sequestering that carbon.
Not making McDonald's.
And if it's
bullshit.
a living soil, then it continues to replenish itself, and you just add organic material to that, and it gets better every year after year rather than getting worse year after year. And that's the only way is to turn this thing around. Is really, if we want to fix the environment, we got to grow more plants.
Everybody's got to grow a pot plant, man. We want
Is that
pot
the new
plant.
mandate?
Yeah, that's the new mandate. With the economy and everything, it would be one way out, man. It's just like everybody grow one pot plant, and we all start taking guitar lessons and putting our music on CD Now or whatever, Spotify. But no, yeah, man. The art of doing nothing. We'll finish up here soon. I don't want to take you too long, Danny. Let me check out what time we're at. But there was a Zen philosophy that I love is if you want to cook a big fish, you don't mess with it. You just put it in the fan and maybe you flip it once. You know what I'm saying? Like if you got a big fat salmon or shark fish or whatever you got, swordfish.
Yep. No, it's true.
The way to cook it is just put it in there, let it cook. You already don't flip it and fuck with it and mess with it. Just let it sit. Then when you feel it, you gotta feel it.
Right.
flip it, but flip it once and you're good, you know.
Stay out of the plant's way. Stay out of the, let the process be the process, and step in when needed.
Yeah.
But stay out of it when you're not needed.
That's what I'm trying to do.
That is an important
myself.
lesson for sure, in plant growing, cooking and life.
In life, man, just get out of your own way. It's a beautiful experience.
Beats, rhymes, and life.
Beats, Rhymes, and Life, the mighty Tribe Called Quest album. Shout out to Q-Tip. You ever met Q-Tip?
I have not met Q-Tip. No.
Does he smoke weed?
I've seen him perform.
I think he smokes weed.
I don't know.
He's a big time producer. That's the thing. Is like
made
he's a
some
good
great songs
rapper,
to listen to
but he's
when
also made a lot of money off of like producing records
Sure.
and making beats
he
and
made
shit.
songs on Illmatic.
Yeah, the production on Illmatic, and when you're the producer, you're like the director of a film, So you're kind of choosing where the drums hit. You're listening to the mixes and how it all sits and puts together. And I think he would be a great film director, I bet. Q-Tip.
Yeah.
Have you seen any good movies recently?
Ted Lasso on Apple is what I've been geeking out on. I like that show a lot.
Did you see the final one? My wife,
I did.
My wife said it's the best.
Well, the last episode.
The last episode. Yeah. I saw the first full season of the first one and loved it. And then I started the second one and I'm like 2 in.
Yeah, it's the right kind of corny.
Yeah, it's wholesome and good. Yeah,
wholesome and good. But funny and lots of swearing and I don't know. I just think it's good. I like
the Lotus joint. People are telling me about.
Haven't seen that.
That's a good. That's more of a darker comedy. People are telling me, but the Ted Lasso kind of just hits right, and it's kind of cool. People hate on London, but the thing about England is, and I had a roommate that was like this young hip dude from London. They are really cool, and London culture is really like, I don't know. I like English gentlemen. Shout out to Charlie Watt, that just passed away from the Rolling Stone. He's an example of a cool English cat. You know what I'm saying? Dressed well, handles his business.
Yeah, no.
That slang.
In the pocket.
Yeah. Have you spent any time in London?
No.
Well, yeah, they're not good with the herb, right?
Well, I mean, of course, like everywhere, they have herb and they have weed culture and all of it.
I think it's
they have
big,
a hash culture too.
Yeah, hash. I went to France and got hash there, and it felt like from Morocco. That comes up from Morocco, and they put it in their tobacco, and London. Yeah, I don't know.
There's a lot of seed companies over there though in the UK because of the laws. I guess they're allowed to ship seeds out from the UK, so there are a lot of seed banks there, and I think
they get the Moroccan.
If you know
seeds.
the right people, I think you're gonna do great over there. I think there's definitely a weed culture. It's just not as prominent as other places.
Yeah, they like their pints over there.
Yeah.
But Amsterdam, I think U.S. should do it like Amsterdam, coffee shops. And the thing that's also interesting is they once had beer in the coffee shops, but then they split it because people would get too cranked up drinking and smoking spliffs.
Yeah, when I first started to go over there, I mean, it wasn't so bad. I like being able to have
I know, you like having a couple pints. Danny's from Boston. If you're going to have a pint, have it with Danny. Don't listen to me. I blew out, my gut's gone, so I just can't handle my booze, and I love herb. But Danny's a dude that's a great pint guy if you want to have a pint.
Yeah, and it was nice to be able to have a pint and smoke a joint. It's we're grown folks.
Yeah.
It seems weird to have to go down the road to another place to do a different thing, but
it does work with coffee, though.
Then one year they had like the non-alcoholic beer, but they didn't tell anybody. So suddenly you'd be having a pint and be like, wait,
all the potheads didn't even know.
But Amsterdam, man, that's a good example of what they have going with the coffee shops that we need to bring over here still.
Is Greenhouse still the top dog over there?
There's a lot of great ones over there, the key is just to find the one that, has the herb you like and the vibe that you like and have a nice cup of coffee and remember to tip well and
Bulldog.
Bulldog, anywhere, anywhere you could sit and smoke a joint is a great place.
And they're all over.
Me.
That's what's trippy.
And I'll just dip into any coffee shop sometimes.
Me too.
just to smoke and chill and see what they have to offer, because even every once in a while, one of those little
grimy
shops
ones
on the side road will have some amazing. I used to go to this place that had like outdoor like leafy Thai weed and it was like a
you told me about
spot.
this place.
Yeah,
that they would
open.
store it in wooden boxes, like everything.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm all about au naturel. I'm for. I mean, it's against kind of the high times, not all that, but I mean, hydroponics is cool. Growing in your basement, all that's cool. But give me some Humboldt grown, outdoor, organic, good herb, and I couldn't be more happier because I can roll a big fat spliff. Okay, Danny, we got 5-0 to the right there.
That's where the plant wants to be. I mean, it wants to grow in full sun.
It should be in full sun.
Full sun and the organic nutrients and worms and the dirt
right next to the tomatoes.
And that is where it's going to express itself fully. So the genetics are fully expressed. The terpenoids, the cannabinoids, the flavonoids, all the things that make it special will all be expressed only in full
nature,
sun and nature,
because nature, you don't know where nature's gonna go, homeboy.
You can't reproduce.
You can't fuck with nature.
You can get great weed from indoors. You can, of course,
and strong obviously. And pungent and all of
but
that.
Nothing beats, like you said, sun-grown organic outdoor.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, it may not be as strong as the super, steroid out joints, but I just don't even think we've tapped into the potential of the plant if we treated it as good as like wine grapes,
Yeah, well, that's how these farmers are going to survive, is with appellations and ways that like champagne has to be grown in Champagne, France. Those grapes have to come from there for it to be called champagne, and I think it's going to be the same way with the Emerald Triangle and other places. Is they're going to have to survive based on their appellations and maintain those traditions that they've had and try not to sell out to bigger industry and corporations and
dude, Virginia kind of went wide open. You're right. I spent a lot of my childhood in Virginia. My dad's from Virginia. I always thought that it would be a great place to grow cannabis because that's where the tobacco industry was all Virginia, Kentucky, and North Carolina. I just think to grow weed out there, they don't even know.
No, it's a great climate for that, and like I said, they're just gonna have to label it from where for what it is and from where it's grown, and it's the terroir.
Dude, if you want to grow your own cannabis, tap into what Danny's podcast is telling you. He knows more than. I'm not saying because cannabis is an old tradition and there's a lot of egos out there, but I know Danny isn't full of shit. He knows his shit. He was writing about it for over 15 years, and he's talked to the best of the best. He's grown some of the best. Strawberry cough back in the day.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
I mean, that's a strain that I love, and definitely.
Didn't you grow a little bit of that?
Of course, yeah, definitely grew a bunch of it, and grew a bunch of Sensi Star. I grew a lot of different stuff over the years, but strawberry definitely holds a place in my heart for sure. I love to smoke it, love to grow it, I love to share it. So yeah, that's a wonderful strain. Ended up being mentioned in Children of Men, oddly enough.
Which is what? A film or a book?
A film, yeah.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, it's a good one. It's Kyle Cushman's Strawberry Cough, that's.
Did he find it?
He discovered it. He didn't breed it, but he kind of brought it out and popularized it. So yeah, shout out to Cushman, another mentor. I think I mentioned him earlier, but.
Yeah, for sure you did. Oh man, Strawberry Cough. Would love to run into some of that in New York soon. But I'm sure it's going to start opening up. But I'm going to end the podcast. Please check out your podcast, the Danny Danko Grow
Bud Yourself.
Grow Bud Yourself podcast on iTunes, Spotify. Like it, subscribe it. He's down for the cause in the best possible way. And he has the best information. He's just like, if you want to get super technical and grow herb and save money, check out Danny Danko's podcast and check out his books. Love you, man. Thanks for being on, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And coffee and weed.
Coffee and weed. Peace out.
That's one small